Good day, everyone. We will be discussing part one of Terix. So, generally, the microorganisms belonging to this family, okay, the family is what we call or termed as Enterobacteriaceae and also known as Enterics. They are generally inhabitants of the gastrointestinal tract, okay? However, in some cases, they are actually significant because these are opportunistic microorganisms, meaning when opportunity strikes, no, when there is an opportunity, they strike and cause disease to human. Okay, so for today, we will be discussing not the organisms themselves, no, but the different culture media for the isolation of enteric bacteria because we have different sets of culture media which are specific for their isolation. And to identify these microorganisms that you have isolated from this culture media, we perform biochemical tests. Okay, and these reactions on the different biochemical tests will be our basis for the identification of these organisms in the family Enterobacteriaceae. So we start off with the different culture media for their isolation. So we actually have several differential and selective media for the isolation of bacteria belonging to the family Enterobacteriaceae. Now you say again differential, okay? Differential media meaning it's differential because it will differentiate, no, a specific type of bacteria from the other. For example, you have your McConkey agar. McConkey agar is a differential medium at the same time a selective medium. Okay? Differential because it differentiates lactose from non-lactose fermenter, producing pink colonies for those microorganisms fermenting lactose, whereas colorless colonies for those cannot ferment lactose. Now, selective, okay, selective because um, certain type of bacteria could only grow in that agar because it has an inhibitor. So again, for example, your McConkey agar, okay? So your McConkey agar is a selective medium for gram-negative microorganisms because it contains an antibiotic which will inhibit gram-positive microorganisms. In other words, when you say selective, okay, only a particular microorganism grows in that media. Another example of a selective medium is your modified Thayer-Martin medium, which contains vancomycin, which inhibits gram-positive microorganisms, polymycin, which inhibits gram-negative microorganisms, and nystatin, which inhibits fungi. That means your modified Thayer-Martin medium is only selective for Neisseria species. That is what is meant when you say selective. Okay? So aside from McConkey agar, you've learned before, McConkey agar is generally used for the isolation of gram-negative microorganisms. We also have some other culture media which will isolate specific type of microorganisms, specific genus under the family Enterobacteriaceae. So we have first bismuth sulfite agar. Okay, it's highly selective medium for the isolation of Salmonella typhi from feces and other materials harboring the microorganisms. So on this medium, the typhoid organism grows luxuriantly, forming a characteristic black colonies, okay, jet black colonies with metallic sheen, while the gram-positive bacteria and members of the coliform group are inhibited. Therefore, it's only selective. No? It's highly selective because it only allows Salmonella typhi to grow in it. And the typical appearance, black colonies, when the microorganism that is isolated is typhi, no? Salmonella, typhoid, Salmonella, produces black colonies owing to the presence of the indicator ferrous sulfate and bismuth. So that's bismuth. Okay, bismuth sulfide forming black precipitate on the meat if the organism is present. So colonies of Salmonella typhi would appear as black, no? Jet black colonies. The characteristic colony for Salmonella typhi in BSA. Again, the indicator used is ferrous sulfate and bismuth sulfate. Sulfite, sorry. And the inhibitor, okay, responsible for inhibiting the growth of other microorganisms is brilliant green. Another culture media, um, selective, okay, selective for the detection and isolation of gram-negative intestinal pathogenic bacteria is your EMB, your eosine methylene blue agar. And since it contains lactose and sucrose, since it contains lactose and sucrose, these media, no, particularly since it contains lactose, this media could actually differentiate the characteristic colonies of lactose fermenters and non-lactose fermenters. So a combination of eosin Y and methylene blue as an indicator gives a sharp and distinct differential which precipitates the two dye and gives the colony of these microorganisms a purple center, particularly your gram-negative rods. And since this is mildly selective, this media supports the growth of most gram-negative rods and inhibits many gram-positive microorganisms. It's only mildly selective. Sometimes enterococci, staphylococci, and yeast, no, which are gram-positive organisms, may grow tiny colonies on the media. It's not as highly selective as your BSA. However, it's actually more favoring the growth of gram-negative microorganisms, but being mildly selective, some gram-positive microorganisms are not inhibited, particularly your enterococci, staphylococci, and yeast. So typical appearance would be this, no? This is actually a colony of Escherichia coli producing the typical greenish metallic sheen on eosine methylene blue agar. Okay? And producing, since it's producing this particular greenish metallic sheen, okay, this typical colonies of Escherichia coli, it's denoting that it is also a lactose fermenter. Okay, we'll discuss more of the microorganism in my next lecture. But for now, no, the typical, it's the EMB, no, particularly your E. coli will produce the typical greenish metallic sheen on this culture media. Then we have your Salmonella Shigella agar or your SSA agar. So this is a moderately selective medium recommended for the isolation of Salmonella and Shigella from stools and other materials suspected of containing these microorganisms. This is actually devised to provide excellent differentiation of lactose fermenters from non-lactose fermenter because it contains the sugar lactose in it. And this also gives maximum inhibition of coliform bacilli occurring on the specimen, being moderately selective. No, it is capable of inhibiting other. My point is telling you that it is capable of inhibiting other gram-negative rods or coliform bacilli. No, for example, your Escherichia or any other. No, it is for the isolation of Salmonella and Shigella because it contains a lot of inhibitors. So you have your sodium citrate, brilliant green, bile salts, and among others. So these organisms, without restriction of the growth of these organisms, some other coliforms are actually inhibited without restriction of the growth of the pathogenic Salmonella and Shigella. You have to take note of. So in this agar, okay, the Salmonella and Shigella and other organisms which are non-lactose fermenter, these are non-lactose fermenter, form an opaque, transparent, or translucent uncolored colonies. However, a few lactose fermenters which may develop in the medium are readily differentiated due to the formation of red color in the colony. So non-lactose fermenters. So exhibiting the typical black, no, black appearance because of the different indicators. Okay, so the neutral red will basically is used, no, for indicating lactose or non-lactose fermenter, whereas the ferric citrate, the sodium thiosulfate will actually detect, no, some production of your H2S, hydrogen sulfide, which is typical of your Salmonella typhi. Okay, so this is a table summarizing the appearances of the different colonies of the different genuses, the different microorganisms under these culture media. So your Escherichia, as I've mentioned, will appear typically, no, will produce greenish metallic sheen on EMB, using methylene blue agar, whereas um, in SSA, being a lactose fermenter, your Escherichia is lactose fermenter, will produce pink colonies, okay? But in BSA, since BSA is more selective with typhoid, salmonella, it's mostly inhibited. Whereas your Enterobacter and Serratia will produce a fish eye appearance. No? I've really seen this firsthand. No? Fish eye appearance really looks fish eye. Yes, it is true. Fish-eyed appearance of colonies under EMB. And since these microorganisms have capsule, they appear mucoid. The colonies will appear mucoid. Okay? Then also Shigella, Klebsiella. No? Klebsiella is actually very known for containing a polysaccharide capsule. And so typically, the microorganism being a lactose fermenter also will appear pink mucoid. Okay? Take note, pink and mucoid. The mucoid there would actually denote that it is capable of producing capsule, and the pink color would mean that it is a lactose fermenter. Whereas in BSA, being highly differential or highly selective for typhoid salmonella, it's inhibited. Then we have your Proteus. Your Proteus, remember you learned before that a characteristic of your Proteus microorganism is the presence of flagella, no? A lot of flagella. Therefore, because it contains flagella, it produces swarming colonies. So I'll show you, in the next lecture what swarming colonies would look like. However, it's a non-lactose fermenter, and so it produces colorless colonies on these agar. Okay. However, also it's capable of producing H2S, hydrogen sulfide. Thus, the color black precipitate on these media. Same goes with your Pseudomonas. Okay, your Pseudomonas actually produces, being also non-lactose fermenter, produces colorless colonies, and they are inhibited in BSA agar because again this is selective for typhoid, typhoid salmonella. So your salmonella microorganism appear colorless. However, in your BSA and SSA, they produce the typical jet black, black colonies. And then your Shigella, on the other hand, being non-lactose fermenter, produces colorless opaque colonies and are mostly inhibited in BSA. So let's discuss the different biochemical reactions for the identification of enteric microorganisms. So the basis of these reactions would be the metabolic action of the microorganisms on different media to produce a specific chemical change which can be detected by the addition of chemical agent. So let us simplify the terms here, okay? Now, supposing you have isolated a microorganism from initially, Makonki agar, BSA, EMB, and those other culture media for the isolation of your Enterobacteriaceae. Now, the next thing to do is to identify whatever colonies, whatever microorganism that has been isolated. So identify it using your biochemical test, okay? Using different biochemical tests. So the general principle here is that you provide substrate in these biochemical tests. You provide substrate in a particular media. So you inoculate the microorganisms in a culture in another media, not a culture, but you inoculate the colonies in another culture media, and these culture media actually contain substrates. Now, if the bacteria will utilize these substrate for its metabolism and energy production, it will produce products, It will produce products, and these products, particularly acids, will produce a specific chemical change. And this chemical change will be detected upon addition of reagents, another reagents. Okay, so my point here is that we supply the substrate needed by the bacteria contained in a media, okay? So the media contains substrates which will be utilized if the bacteria is capable of utilizing that, or those substrates in the different biochemical test media. It will produce products, and these products will actually alter, It will alter the environment, causing chemical changes, causing your acids, okay? And when you add chemical reagents, it will actually cause detection. It will detect the chemical change produced. So, for example, you have your fermentation of carbohydrates, okay? So, you learned before that depending on the microorganism, okay? Just like humans, just like our own cells, your microorganisms also, some microorganisms are capable of fermenting carbohydrates. That is, they use carbohydrates for energy production, no? Particularly glucose, lactose, sucrose. Okay. Now, the the principle here, okay, since organisms ferment carbohydrates in different ways depending upon the enzymes they possess, okay, the the principle here is that when these carbohydrates, these sugars, are fermented, are acted upon by the bacteria, they produce a product. And the product that is produced, the fermentation product that is produced, is what we call your pyruvic acid. This pyruvic acid is then converted into a variety of end product. So therefore, your fermentation of carbohydrates, the end goal here is to actually determine if the microorganism in question is capable of fermenting these carbohydrates. And when it is capable of fermenting these carbohydrates, these, no, one of the products that will be produced when you ferment these carbohydrates, these sugars, is your pyruvic acid. That pyruvic acid, in turn, will be converted into several products. Okay? Therefore, our goal here to know if the carbohydrate is metabolized or fermented, we need to add reagents that will detect the presence of the fermentation products of these carbohydrates, particularly your pyruvic acid. So if the medium changes color to pink, then it is indicative of acid production. And when there is an acid, it's telling us there is fermentation happening. Okay? So actually, the color change would depend, no? It will actually depend on the indicator that you have used. So if it is pink, you are actually using Andrades indicator, ANDRADES, Andrades indicator. Sometimes, no, I've seen also some other media for fermentation of carbohydrates wherein the indicator will actually turn yellow if an acid is produced. Okay, so there. In the presence of acid, medium turns pink if Andrades indicator is used. And one of the products of fermentation also is gas production, no, particularly CO2. And it can be noted by the presence of cracks in the media. Okay, so notice here, do not confuse yourselves, no, because I mentioned here, it says here pink is a positive reaction, but in the picture below, the the indicator that was used was actually different, no, not Andrades indicator, such that a negative, no, the baseline color of the medium is pink, and when there is fermentation of carbohydrate, it turned into yellow. So notice that this media here contains a microorganism that is capable of fermenting the carbohydrate present in the media. However, but there's no gas production, no? So it's capable of fermentation but not capable of gas production. However, in this second tube, the bubbles that is produced here, okay, no cracks, no, not really visible since we're using Brothman in this case. The bubble that is produced here denotes that there is gas production, meaning still the bacteria was capable of fermenting the carbohydrate found in the medium plus capable also of gas production. So again, evidences of fermentation of carbohydrate is a change in color, particularly pink or yellow, depending on the indicator that was used, and also cracks, no, gas production as seen as bubbles or cracks in the meat. So another test is indole production. So indole is a putrefactive product from tryptophan and other amino acids containing the indole ring, and only under aerobic conditions and the absence of sugars on the medium. In other words, when a micro or a medium, no, the culture media would actually contain tryptophan and some amino acids. Now, if the microorganism in question contains the enzyme tryptophanase, it is now capable of converting your tryptophan and some amino acids no containing the indole ring. It is capable of breaking down your tryptophan and other amino acids containing your indole ring, releasing the indole. And this indole is the one detected in indole production test. Okay? So, again, your culture media contains amino acids, particularly those containing indole ring. And when your microorganism has tryptophanase, your tryptophanase would actually cause breakdown or catabolism of your tryptophan and these amino acids found in the culture media, no, in the medium. And one of the products produced during this catabolic reaction is an indole. So this indole is the one being detected by the chemical which is Kovacs reagent. Okay, so we add Kovacs reagent, Kovac apostrophe S. We add Kovacs reagent, and once you add Kovacs reagent, if indole was produced, meaning the microorganism has the enzyme tryptophanase, then um, it will produce a purple ring upon contact with the medium. Okay. However, a yellow color is indicative that the microorganism does not contain tryptophanase enzyme. Then we have your citrate utilization test. Okay. So in citrate utilization test, by the way, the medium, no, the medium is actually tryptone, is a tryptone broth, and you inoculate the tryptone broth with the microorganism, and upon inoculation, you add indole to the tryptone broth containing the microorganism, and if it is capable of catabolism of tryptophan and amino acids because it contains tryptophanase enzyme, the tryptone broth, no, particularly the one having in contact with Kovacs reagent, will turn purple. So again, the medium here is tryptone broth. So we have your citrate utilization test is used to determine if the organism is capable of utilizing citrate and ammonium salt as a source of carbon and nitrogen for their metabolism. And since the indicator used in Simon citrate agar is bromthymol blue, a positive result is a deep Prussian blue color. Okay? So notice here that originally Simon citrate agar looks green. However, if the microorganism is capable of utilizing citrate and ammonium salt as a source of carbon and energy, it will actually form products that will react with bromthymol blue, producing now a deep Prussian blue color. So a positive result here is a deep Prussian blue color, telling us that the organism is capable of utilizing citrate and ammonium salt. Then we have production of hydrogen sulfide. Okay, so cysteine is utilized by some microorganisms as a source of carbon. Okay, as a source of carbon. And when cysteine is catabolized by these microorganisms, products are formed, no, particularly your hydrogen sulfide. This hydrogen sulfide is detected with the indicator ferrosulfate forming now because hydrogen sulfide is actually a gas, no? Gas, this is a gas. So we need to detect presence of these by using a chemical agent. And so the chemical agent used for the detection of hydrogen sulfide is your ferrosulfate. And a biochemical reaction upon addition of your ferrosulfate would actually produce your ferrosulfide. Your ferrosulfide is actually, its presence is denoted by formation of a black precipitate. Okay? Therefore, a positive reaction for the production of your hydrogen sulfide would appear as the presence of a black precipitate in the medium, like this. Okay? So, a colorless medium is telling us that the microorganism is H2S negative, meaning it's not capable of utilizing cysteine, producing H2S. No, it's not producing H2S because it's not capable of catabolizing cysteine. Now, if the microorganism is capable of catabolizing cysteine, producing H2S, then it will produce black precipitate. Okay? So when you answer in the exam, no? When you answer in the exam, so when asked during examinations, no, to read and interpret the result, those are actually two different things, no? So when asked to read, you tell us presence of black, you look out for black color, okay? And then when you read, you say H2S positive. But when you say interpret, meaning what does that mean? What does that H2S positive mean? You will answer in examinations that the organism is capable of utilizing cysteine, producing hydrogen sulfide. Like that, huh? So going back for citrate, no? How do you read? So positive, you just read it as positive or negative. No? The deep Prussian blue would actually mean it's positive, but how do you interpret? What does a positive reading mean? It means that a microorganism is capable of utilizing citrate and ammonium salts as a source of carbon and energy. Okay? So that's how you read and interpret. So when you say read, you just say negative or positive. But when you say interpret, what does that negative, what does that positive reading mean? Take note of that, no, in the examinations. I will definitely ask you, read and interpret. Let's proceed. So we have another biochemical test. Okay, we call your lysine decarboxylation and deamination test. So the culture, not culture, no, but the medium used here is your lysine iron agar for determining whether the microorganism can decarboxylate or deaminate lysine. Decarboxylate meaning um, remember your lysine contains both amino and carboxyl group. And if the microorganism is capable of removing the carboxyl group only from lysine, then it is capable of decarboxylating lysine. But if it is capable of removing only the amino group in the lysine amino acid, then it is capable of deaminating lysine. But if it is capable of doing both, then it is capable of decarboxylating. Actually, it's sort of impossible. No? It should be or, no? Decarboxylating or deaminating lysine. But in some cases, no, what if, doc, both you, doc, no, based on the LIA results, then it is capable of decarboxylating and deaminating lysine. Okay? So, lysine decarboxylase production is indicated by the reaction in the bottom of the tube or in the butt, no? So bottom of the tube or butt of the tube, decarboxylase, slant, no? Or top of the tube, deaminase. Okay? So the enzyme responsible for decarboxylating lysine is lysine decarboxylase. The enzyme produce or the enzyme capable of deaminating lysine is lysine deaminase. And a positive result, okay? So supposing your decarboxylase now has decarboxylated lysine, it will produce a product. The product we call now is your cadaverine. And this cadaverine is the one detected in lysine decarboxylation and deamination testing. It forms a purple alkaline color, meaning a positive result is actually formation of a purple alkaline color. Purple if it contains lysine decarboxylase. Lysine decarboxylase, cadaverine, purple color. Look at it's sort of different when the microorganism contains the aminase. Okay, here. If we have a purple slant and a purple butt, okay, so it will look like this. So if this is now the test tube containing the medium, if this area here is purple, that means the microorganism contains lysine decarboxylase, meaning the lysine was decarboxylated by lysine decarboxylase, forming now a product, and that product is cadaverine. But it's different, okay? Different when we talk about deaminase, because deaminase is found in the slant, in the top portion of the medium. And a purple color in the slant would actually denote absence of lysine deaminase. Okay? Lysine deaminase. Absence of lysine deaminase, because a positive color for the presence of lysine deaminase is actually a red color, whereas a positive color for lysine decarboxylase is a purple color because of the presence of cadaverine, whereas a negative color for lysine deaminase is purple and negative color for lysine decarboxylase is yellow. Okay? So take note of those. Now, therefore, a reading of purple slant and a purple butt would mean negative for deaminase but positive for decarboxylase. Whereas a reading of purple slant, again, take note, no, it's different because in slant, purple is negative, but in butt, purple is considered positive. So a purple slant and a yellow butt is indicative of the absence of both enzymes, whereas a red slant in here and a yellow butt would means that the microorganism contains only lysine deaminase. So how do you read and interpret? Supposing here, also presence of black color denotes production of, again, H2S. No, this is H2S. Okay, meaning the microorganism is capable of utilizing cysteine, forming hydrogen sulfide, and the indicator used here is ferrous. Okay, ferrous sulfate here. Notice, okay, let's start with the first tube. No, it's producing a purple slant and a purple butt. So meaning, how do you read? Purple slant, purple butt. And how do you interpret? Positive for, negative for lysine deaminase, positive for lysine decarboxylase. Here, okay. Purple slant, purple butt. Then another we have your purple slant and then purple butt, no? It's purple, however, there is actually noted also a black precipitate denoting presence of hydrogen sulfide. So how do you read purple slant, purple butt plus H2S? How do you interpret absence or negative for lysine deaminase, positive for lysine decarboxylase, and what does that mean? Capable of decarboxylating, okay, lysine. And another additional interpretation is that what does the hydrogen, the black precipitate, mean here? Presence of hydrogen sulfide. And so what does that mean? That the microorganism is capable of utilizing cysteine, sorry, it's cysteine, no, not citrate, cysteine, converting it into products, particularly hydrogen sulfide. Here, purple slant, yellow butt. So negative for deaminase and negative for decarboxylase. Same here, purple slant, yellow butt. It's not purple, no, but you compare it, it's red, no, red slant but yellow butt. It's positive for lysine deaminase, negative for lysine decarboxylase, but purple or all over, no, the same, no, with the first, negative for both enzymes. Take note of what to answer in read, what to answer when I say interpret. Then we have malonate utilization test. This is used to determine the organism's ability to utilize sodium malonate as the sole source of carbon with resulting alkalinity. So the presence of alkalinity here would actually produce a blue color of the entire medium. Okay? And yes, I mentioned, no, deep Prussian blue color. The alkalinity is actually due to, okay, conversion or a product, no, a product formed from malonate metabolism. A byproduct form is sodium hydroxide. So thus the deep Prussian blue color. So it would look like this. So negative color is green, positive color is light blue. So how do you read? Positive, negative. How do you interpret? The microorganism is capable of utilizing malonate as a source of carbon or energy. Then we have motility, indole production, and ornithine decarboxylation. Now, in this biochemical media, we are actually determining, we are testing for three, no? Number one is motility, number two is indole production, and number three is ornithine decarboxylation. So when you say motility, we are actually detecting if the microorganism has flagella or capable of motility. Indole production, we are actually determining, if you consider recall, if the microorganism is capable, okay, capable of producing the enzyme tryptophanase. And in ornithine decarboxylation, we are actually detecting if the microorganism is capable of removing the carboxyl group from the protein ornithine, okay, from the substance ornithine. So it is essential that the medium be tubed in at least a depth of 2 inches to provide the anaerobic conditions necessary for ornithine decarboxylase activity. And for motility determination, a positive result is formation of fuzzy streaks of growth, no, from the stop, whereas absence of these would mean negative for motility. So here, Supposing this is now the original culture media, no? The culture media here, an inoculated tube, meaning you did not place the microorganism there yet. Now, you observe for motility by stabbing the media. You stab the media, and after incubation for 24 hours, you take note of fuzzy or streaks, no, from the stab line. Okay, such that here, look at this is negative, no, because it's just the stab, no streaks or fuzz. But look at in here, presence of streaks from the stab, meaning the microorganism is capable of motility or turning of the entire medium into red. Okay, would mean the microorganism. So um, from the inoculated tube, which is yellowish or colorless to red, with presence of fuzz and streaks around the stab area, that's telling us that the microorganism is capable of motility. Then for ornithine production, a positive result is the presence of purple color throughout the tube, whereas the negative, no? Negative test is actually denoted by the presence of a bright yellow with a narrow rim of purple at the top. So we are actually very strict, no, in the lab of denoting at least two-thirds purple color for us to say that the microorganism is positive for ornithine decarboxylase here. So look at, no, at least two-thirds. If this is a negative reaction, is the microorganism motile or non-motile? No, non-motile, because there's actually no fuzz or streaks, no, or extensions from the stab line here. Is the microorganism capable of producing ornithine decarboxylase? Yes, it is, because look at there is actually more than two-thirds formation of a purple color throughout the medium. How about here? A faint purple color, more than at least two-thirds, no? At least two-thirds from the entire length of the medium actually denotes also presence, no, of production of ornithine decarboxylase. Then lastly, you add, no, after checking for ornithine decarboxylase and after checking for motility, you add Kovacs reagent just like what you did in indole production test. You add Kovacs reagent and formation of a pink color or purple ring actually denotes that the microorganism contains what enzyme again? Tryptophanase. Okay, whereas no change in color because Kovacs reagent actually is colored yellow. So no change in color would mean negative for the enzyme tryptophanase. Then we have another biochemical test, reduction of nitrates to nitrites. Okay, so we actually detect, no? What we detect here is the presence of the enzyme nitratase. So the presence of enzyme nitratase would actually convert nitrate to nitrite, and this nitrate to nitrite conversion actually is maybe accompanied by production of a nitrogen gas. Okay, therefore, a positive result. Okay, so the culture media, not culture again, no, but the medium, no, not culture because we're not culturing the microorganism, but we're just doing biochemical testing. So the media that is used to test for the presence of nitratase enzyme is your nitrate agar. And this nitrate agar, okay, you inoculate this with a microorganism, you streak the microorganism on a slant, no, of a nitrate agar or nitrate broth. We add now sulfanylic acid, and alpha-naphthylamine on the surface of the agar. So upon addition of sulfanylic acid and alpha-naphthylamine, a positive result. No, positive for the enzyme nitratase would be indicated as a pink or red color. So in here, after addition of sulfanilic acid and alpha-naphthylamine, absence of a pink or red color would mean it's not capable of producing the enzyme nitratase. Whereas a pink or red color in here, pink or red color in the two test tubes here would mean that the microorganism is capable of producing the enzyme nitratase, or it is capable of converting nitrate to nitrite because it contains nitratase. Then we have your ONPG test. No, this is actually a test for detection of beta galactosidase. Okay, so not just galactosidase, but also detection of the enzyme permease. Okay, so in ONPG test or your beta galactosidase test, we're actually detecting um, two enzymes here, your permease and beta galactosidase. So therefore, okay, therefore, if your permease allows lactose to enter the cell and your beta galactosidase splits the lactose into glucose and galactose, we are actually determining, these tests also can determine if the microorganism is lactose or non-lactose fermenter. Okay? But the purpose of these tests is to actually identify if the microorganism is capable of producing the two enzymes, permease and beta galactosidase. And a positive result, okay, a positive result for ONPG test is the presence of a yellow color throughout the medium. Um, the medium here is actually just a distilled water added with ONPG. So ONPG stands for ortho-nitrophenyl beta-galactose pyranoside. Again, it's ortho-nitrophenyl beta-galactose pyranoside, ONPG. Okay? So, a positive color is yellow, meaning the microorganism is capable of producing the enzyme permease and beta galactosidase. Or it's, in other words, it's a lactose fermenter also. So it's typo here, no? If the organism is there. Then we have your phenylalanine deamination. Okay, so this is used to determine the ability of the organism to deaminate phenylalanine to phenylpyruvic acid. So a product, no, the product that is detected here by addition of the reagent is actually your phenylpyruvic acid. Okay, so such that a the medium that is used for your PAD test, no, or phenylalanine deamination test is a phenylalanine agar. We use a phenylalanine agar and we inoculate the agar, the slant, no, with the microorganism, and then we incubate this for 24 hours. And a positive result is actually formation of a brown color in the colony, surrounding the colony. That means the microorganism contains the enzyme phenylalanine deaminase. Okay? Phenylalanine deaminase will convert phenylalanine into phenylpyruvic acid. The brown color here actually is your phenylpyruvic acid, which means that the microorganism is capable of producing the enzyme phenylalanine deaminase. Then we have your sugar fermentation test, no, hydrogen sulfide production test, or we call TSI, okay, triple sugar iron fermentation test, no. So the agar use here is your triple sugar iron agar. So it's a differential medium which is used to determine the ability of the microorganism to utilize a specific carbohydrate with or without production of gas and hydrogen sulfide. We're actually determining three things here. Number one, if it is capable of utilizing the carbohydrate. Number two, if it is capable of gas production. And number three, if it is capable of producing hydrogen sulfide. So this is recommended for the identification of gram-negative enteric pathogens. No? For example, you actually have, if in LIA, you have your purple as your positive color, no, especially in the bot, but in the slant, purple denotes negative. In TSI reaction, a yellow color would mean that the microorganism is capable of fermenting that sugar found in the media. Okay, media. The sugars, it says triple sugar, no, because the sugars are actually in three, no, your dextrose or glucose, lactose, and sucrose. So if you produce a yellow slant here, if this is the TSI agar, yes, not okay. Slant. If the um, if the slant is yellow and then the bot is yellow, that means all three sugars are fermented. So the microorganism is able to ferment dextrose, lactose, and sucrose. So when asked read, no, you say yellow slant, yellow bot. But when asked for interpretation, dextrose, lactose, and sucrose are fermented, were fermented. Okay? Now, if the slant is red, um, yellow slant, yellow bot, no, by the way, is read as acid over acid. Okay, a yellow color is read as acid, whereas a red color is read as alkaline. So again, when asked for reading, you notice that the slant is yellow, the bot is yellow, then you say acid over acid. The AA here means acid over acid. Okay, and interpretation would be it's capable of fermenting dextrose, lactose, and or sucrose. Then, when the slant is colored red, that means um, red slant is actually read as alkaline, okay? Whereas yellow bot is read as acid. So you just say dextrose may be fermented, no? Lactose and sucrose fermented also. But for if both are red, slant and bot, you read it as alkaline over alkaline or alkaline over no change, meaning none of the three sugars were fermented. So H2S production is denoted by presence of black precipitate, whereas gas production is denoted as presence of a bubble or cracks or displacement of the medium from the bottom here. So this is acid, no, yellow. So it's acid over acid with gas production. We look at the cracks, no, the cracks, bubbles. So it's with gas production, acid over acid gas. Okay, so very typical of your Escherichia coli, no? Acid over acid gas. This means that the microorganism is capable of fermenting dextrose, lactose, and or sucrose. How about here? Red slant, yellow bot with production, the black precipitate here denotes production of hydrogen sulfide. So with production of hydrogen sulfide, so this is how you read alkaline over acid with H2S. This means that either of these sugars, no, dextrose, lactose, or sucrose were fermented. And the H2S here that is produced means that the microorganism is capable of utilizing cysteine, converting it into hydrogen sulfide. So here we have your red and red, so alkaline over alkaline or alkaline over NC, but with black precipitate, no, with H2S production. Then here, this is actually the uninoculated culture. Okay? So take note of these reactions. So you will know later which one's acid over acid, alkaline over alkaline in my next lecture. Then lastly, we have your urease test. This is actually testing for the presence of the enzyme urease, okay, meaning if the microorganism is capable of splitting urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide. Okay, and a positive result here is denoted by a pink color throughout the agar or the medium. So if we are using a broth, no, the broth is actually a urea broth. If we are using an agar, it's urea agar, no, because it contains urea. And if the microorganism has the enzyme again urease, it splits urea into ammonia, no, ammonia and carbon dioxide. And this ammonia is actually detected via change in color, no, into pink. So how do you read? Negative, positive. Interpret presence of urease enzyme or urease enzyme capable of splitting urea into ammonia and carbon dioxide. So that ends our lecture for today. If you have questions, you can message me directly, or you can message me directly on Messenger, or you can email me anytime. Thank you very much, and keep watch for part 2 of Enterix. No, this time we will be talking on part 2 the different microorganisms, and we will apply these biochemical tests, what we have learned from these biochemical tests and culture media in part 2 of my lecture, part 2 and part 3. Thank you very much and good morning.